André Rieu, often called the King of the Waltz, is one of the most famous violinists and conductors in the world. For decades, his concerts have drawn millions of fans who admire not only his music, but also the joy and energy he brings to the stage. Yet behind the lights, applause, and worldwide success, there is a story filled with pain, struggles, and battles that almost ended his career. Many people see Rieu as a smiling entertainer who makes classical music fun and exciting, but very few know about the difficult path he had to walk to get here. Born on October 1, 1949, in Maastricht, Netherlands, André was raised in a very strict household. His father, also named André, was a respected conductor, but at home, he ruled with fear. There was little warmth or affection in the family. Rieu himself has admitted that his parents never showed him love. His mother valued discipline and academic success above all else, while imagination and creativity were seen as weaknesses. Growing up in such an environment left young André feeling lonely and misunderstood. However, when he was only 5 years old, he met a violin teacher who treated him differently. She encouraged him to play with emotion, to feel the music instead of simply following the rules. This experience opened a new world for André. Through the violin, he found freedom, expression, and a voice that he did not have at home. This discovery planted the seed for the musical journey that would later change his life forever. During his teenage years, André's love for waltzes began to grow. Unlike many classical musicians who focused on strict concert traditions, André was attracted to the beauty and emotional power of the waltz. Unfortunately, his father disapproved. He considered waltzes too light, too sentimental, and not serious enough for a professional musician. This created deep conflict at home. André's father believed in strict orchestral discipline, while André wanted to create music that touched people's hearts. The rejection from his family became even more painful when André met Marjorie, the woman who would later become his wife and strongest supporter. His mother opposed their relationship, adding more pressure on him. One night, after his mother ordered Marjorie to leave, André made a life-changing decision. He walked out of his home and never returned. From that day forward, he built his own life without the support of his parents. They never attended his concerts, not even after he became world famous. André later admitted that he spent years in therapy trying to understand the emptiness of his childhood. Despite all the fame and applause, the lack of love from his parents left a wound that music alone could not fully heal. Yet, instead of giving up, André used this pain as fuel. Music became his escape, his passion, and his lifeline. Through every note he played, he found a way to express what words could not. By the late 1970s, André had gone through years of formal music training, performing in orchestras and gaining professional experience. But he felt that traditional concerts were too rigid and distant from the audience. He wanted something different, something that made music feel alive, joyful, and connected to people. In 1978, he started a small group called the Maastricht Salon Orchestra. It was made up of just 12 musicians who shared his dream. They performed at weddings, small halls, and even community gatherings. Unlike big orchestras, this group was about sharing music with ordinary people. At the heart of it all was Marjorie, who quietly handled the business side, bookings, and even helped arrange the music. Without her, André admitted later, none of it would have been possible. In 1987, he took an even bigger step and founded the Johann Strauss Orchestra. It was again small at first, but it carried a bold mission: to bring back the beauty of waltz music and make it popular again. They broke away from traditions: no black tailcoats, no stiff formality. Instead, they wore colorful outfits and smiled on stage. Their concerts were filled with light, laughter, and energy. Critics dismissed them as unserious, even mocking them by calling their shows musical entertainment instead of real art. But audiences loved it. In fact, they loved it so much that by the 1990s, André and his orchestra were selling millions of albums worldwide. Their breakthrough came when they performed at the UEFA Champions League final in Vienna in 1995. As the music filled the stadium, even football fans were moved to clap and sway. Overnight, André Rieu became a household name. He had achieved what many thought was impossible, turning waltz music into a global phenomenon. Paragraph 4 approximately equals 360 words. Success did not come without criticism. While millions of fans adored André Rieu, many traditional classical musicians and critics looked down on his style. They argued that his concerts were too flashy, too joyful, and lacked the seriousness of real classical music. Some even went as far as calling it musical pornography, suggesting that André was cheapening the art form by mixing bright lights, colorful gowns, and humor with classical music. But for the audiences, especially families, older generations, and those who usually felt excluded from traditional classical concerts, Rieu's shows meant everything. His performances were not just about music. They were about creating a feeling of happiness, unity, and celebration. As André himself once said, "With us, you don't feel the solemn hush that drives people away." Instead of making audiences sit stiffly in silence, he invited them to laugh, dance, and cry. His concerts became events where people felt at home, connected not only to the music, but also to each other. By the late S, André was filling stadiums around the world. In Australia, more than 38,000 people attended one of his shows, a number that most pop stars would be proud of. At one point, he even had 8 of the top 10 best-selling DVDs in the country. This incredible success proved that his vision was right. Music was meant to be enjoyed, not feared. While critics kept complaining, André focused on the people who mattered most, his fans. For them, his concerts were not just entertainment. They were life-changing experiences that brought joy to difficult times. Behind all the success, however, André's health began to suffer. In 2010, at the height of his career, he was struck by a severe viral infection that attacked his inner ear. For most people, such an illness would be uncomfortable, but for a violinist, it was devastating. The infection affected his balance, leaving him dizzy and unable to perform. For someone who had built his entire life on stage, this was more than just sickness. It felt like his world was collapsing. Tours had to be cancelled, shows were postponed, and fans were left heartbroken. André, who had always been strong and full of energy, suddenly found himself bedridden and vulnerable. Doctors advised rest, but recovery was slow and frustrating. Traditional treatments didn't work, and for months, he struggled with constant vertigo. The man who once commanded entire stadiums with confidence now found it difficult to even stand without feeling the room spin. What saved him, surprisingly, was a letter from a fan in Australia who had gone through the same illness. The fan shared special vestibular exercises that helped him recover. Desperate, André tried the man slowly. Step by step, his balance returned. After months of struggle, he was able to return to the stage. His comeback was celebrated not just as a musical achievement, but as a story of resilience. However, the experience left scars. André admitted that the infection never completely disappeared, and that his equilibrium remained a weak point. Every performance carried a hidden risk. The man who had once seemed unstoppable was now aware of his limits, and it changed the way he looked at his career forever. Just as he was recovering from illness, tragedy struck in 2016. During a tour in the United Kingdom, André received the devastating news that his close friend and trombonist, Ruud Merckx, had passed away in his sleep. For André, this was not just the loss of a colleague, but the loss of a brother. The Johann Strauss Orchestra had always been more than just a group of musicians, it was a family. Each member shared years of experiences, travels, and performances together. Losing one of them felt like losing a piece of that family. Without hesitation, André cancelled the rest of the shows in Nottingham, London, Birmingham, and Glasgow. For him, continuing the tour while carrying such grief was impossible. In interviews later, he admitted how deeply the loss affected him. The concerts eventually resumed, but they carried a new weight. The joyful melodies were still there, but behind them was a layer of sorrow that only those closest to André could truly see. This period showed fans another side of the maestro, a man capable of deep vulnerability and emotion. Even in grief, he turned to music, using it as a way to heal and to honor the memory of his friend. Yet the burden was heavy, and the years that followed tested him again. In 2019, he caught a severe flu, but still went on stage, hiding his pain behind his usual smile. Those who knew him could tell he was struggling, but his commitment to his fans never wavered. What many did not realize was that each performance was becoming more and more demanding on his health. The glamorous image of the King of the Waltz often hid the reality of a man fighting battles off stage that few could see. One of the most remarkable aspects of André Rieu's journey is how he transformed not only classical music but also the business of live performance. Before him, classical concerts were usually restricted to opera houses and theaters, often with formal dress codes and an intimidating atmosphere. But André broke these boundaries. He brought the elegance of Vienna to football stadiums, public squares, and open-air arenas, creating a unique blend of tradition and modern showmanship. This was not only a musical revolution, but also a financial one. By the early 2000s, his tours were among the most profitable in the world, sometimes surpassing rock legends like U2 and the Rolling Stones in ticket sales. What made this even more extraordinary was that he achieved it without the support of mainstream pop culture or radio hits. Instead, he relied on word of mouth, television broadcasts, and the loyalty of fans who felt part of something special. Families passed his music down from generation to generation, and grandparents, parents, and children often attended concerts together. This multi-generational appeal became his secret weapon. Where other artists targeted one demographic, André built an audience that stretched across ages, cultures, and continents. In many ways, he redefined what a superstar could look like in the 21st century. He wasn't a rock idol with wild scandals, nor a pop star chasing constant reinvention. He was a violinist who stayed true to himself, proving that authenticity could win just as much love as spectacle. Another key part of André's success is his deep connection with his orchestra. The Johann Strauss Orchestra is not just a group of hired musicians, but a family that has traveled the world together for decades. Many of its members have been with him since the early days, building relationships that extend beyond the stage. André is known for treating them not as employees, but as companions on a shared mission. They dine together, celebrate holidays on tours, and support each other in difficult times. Fans often say that the orchestra's warmth and chemistry are what make the concerts so magical. When the musicians smile, laugh, or even shed tears on stage, the audience feels it too. However, leading such a large group also comes with enormous responsibility. Every tour involves organizing flights, hotels, meals, visas, and rehearsals for more than 120 people. The pressure on André, especially in the earlier years, was immense. There were times when financial risks nearly bankrupted him, as the costs of transporting stage sets, costumes, and equipment were sky-high. Yet, he always insisted on delivering the full experience, never cutting corners. Over time, Pierre stepped in to manage these challenges more effectively, allowing his father to focus on the music itself. Today, the Johann Strauss Orchestra is one of the most recognizable ensembles in the world, not only because of their talent, but also because of the love and unity that audiences can feel in every performance. Looking at André Rieu's life, one cannot ignore the legacy he is building. For future generations, beyond concerts and DVDs, his influence is seen in how many young people have discovered classical music through him. Teachers around the world often use his performances to introduce students to waltzes, operas, and orchestral works, because they are engaging and accessible. He has managed to take something that was considered elite and make it universal. His approach shows that classical music is not a museum piece, but a living art form that can adapt and thrive in modern times. André himself has expressed hope that his work will inspire young musicians to follow their dreams without fear of tradition or criticism. He believes music should be free, joyful, and inclusive, not locked behind walls of formality. Even as he grows older, he continues to nurture this vision, supporting young talent and sometimes inviting them to join his stage. Fans often remark that his concerts feel less like performances and more like global gatherings of joy. People from dozens of nationalities sit side by side, clapping, dancing, and even